and welcome back to my channel, Whovian Espresso. Today we're going to be reviewing episode 3 of Doctor Who Series 11, Rosa. So beware, if you have not seen this episode, you can watch it on BBC iPlayer at the moment and whatever streaming service they use in America to watch this episode. I would highly recommend it, as you'll find out in my review. So yeah, spoilers, click away now if you have a thing against spoilers before watching it. So yeah, spoilers from now on if you have not already seen it. But I would have to say, this is the episode that would probably most surprise me. It was also the one that I was most looking forward to out of this series. I knew that there was going to be a very fine rope to walk with this, because it would be very easy to fall off the edge into sort of embarrassing the black community by doing a bad representation of it, or making it seem like, oh, because of the Doctor, all this happened. Without this white woman, you would not have this and this and this. I think if they'd done that, it could have gone incredibly badly. And then, of course, there's a way of over-representing it and making the white community feeling a bit depressed about the whole thing. And sure, we did bad things then, and I'm not saying we did good things, but there is a certain way you could tell the story without making us all feel bad about it. And I think they managed to walk the line successfully, and it was an incredibly good episode, and by far the best historical episode ever, and perhaps the best episode in 10 years. So yeah, that was exciting. I have to say. It was also one of the ones I was most looking forward to because of the time period. I'm obsessed with 1950s/60s, so I was excited for that aspect. Also, the Black Civil Rights Movement really interested me when I was learning about it in Year 7 and 8, so it was nice to sort of revisit it, I guess. We sort of found out this episode was sort of happening around the time I was doing it. It's like, oh yeah, Rosa Parks bus thing, and so on. That kind of made it even more interesting because I knew it would be coming up in Doctor Who in just over a year. So that was interesting. Also, because unlike usual with historical episodes in new series, they tend to do it a bit. Historical episodes since 1964 haven't really taught us much about that time period. I mean, take The Big Bang, the Series 5 finale, I'm just going to call it that because I can't remember the titles for the life of me. I know, I'm a bad Whovian. But yeah, in that one, they just sort of arrive in the Roman period. We don't really learn anything about it at all. I mean, I didn't know anything about the Roman period going into it as I was only 4, or thereabouts. Wait, no, I'll be 6. Sorry, I'll be 6 in 2010. But yeah, I did not know anything about the new series, about Romans or anything. So it was kind of a bit, it was sort of weird. So I didn't learn anything at all from that. And the only historical episode that I can think of that could match this in the last of Who is probably Vincent and the Doctor, which is sort of similar, where you did learn that stuff about Vincent Van Gogh. I think that's right. Is it Vincent Van Gogh? Is it Vincent Van Gogh? I don't know how to pronounce it anymore. So many people pronounce it in different ways. So it is good that we actually learn something about this rather than just sidelining the whole thing, or indeed sugarcoating it. If they'd sugarcoated it, I think people would be in outcry, because it is not a good thing to sugarcoat. Even making this review, I'm being very careful, trying to be very careful about how I word my opinion about this. But yeah. So, yeah, we've got that initial bit out of the way. I guess we'll go through it like usual, where I'll go from pretty much the start and go through what I think of the episode. Right off the bat, I'm very glad they kept the opening titles at the start of the episode. It makes it feel more like Classic Who. I love it how the Classic Who episodes started with the opening titles at the beginning. Not many shows do it that way anymore. I believe EastEnders does it. I have never watched EastEnders in my life, except from Dimensions in Time. Is it Dimensions in Time? I think it's Dimensions in Time. Or am I thinking Battles in Time and just say Dimensions in Time? I don't know, that 3D thing that happened in the 90s. I'm glad they kept it at the start, because it's just gives it that sense of Classic Who, like it was, like, I think Jodie Whittaker is very much portraying a very classic Doctor. She reminds me a lot of Colin Baker in her dress sense of the very colourful rainbow stripes and stuff. But yeah, I like that idea of keeping it more classic, as well as the titles, again, being very classic, as we had already discussed last week. Then right into it, they're trying to land on Montgomery in Sheffield. It's really nice. It reminds me of Ian Chesterton. It does kind of feel a bit like they're copying the old motifs of TARDIS teams like that. The only TARDIS team that hasn't really done that is Bill, Nardole and the Doctor. Because even in the 5th Doctor's era, they were always trying to get Tegan home to the airport. I haven't watched every single episode of Classic Who. I've watched probably, I'd like to say most of it now, but probably not. I've got a whole shelf of them. Whole shelf of Classic Who. I've watched enough to know, basically, that there aren't that many historicals that are very... I think, well, not the fact that they're doing this on a more classic basis of having... It feels like the historicals that came pretty short after, where you did learn... It feels like the Visitation. The best I can think about is Visitation, of having that sci-fi twist, but it being sort of a lesser part of it. And I think the whole Cresco thing working in the background works well as being able to learn more about the historical event, which is Rosa Parks and so on. Vinvette Robinson's performance, it was incredible and powerful. I really loved her as Rosa Parks. That way that you could feel like she was rising from nothing, but she was like an ordinary person, and she did such an amazing thing. She stood up for what she believed in, rather ironically, because she sat down, it's just so glorious. Her performance was rich, and you could tell that she's an experienced actress. And you can tell that I think she's matured as an actress since her last performance in Doctor Who, which is in 42, which was 2007's. This is in the 2007 series of Doctor Who with Freeman Agyeman and David Tennant. That's a Chris Chibnall episode that, like most Chris Chibnall episodes, isn't very good. I think Chris Chibnall can work very well in the background. I think one of the ways that this story worked is the fact that it kept the characters the same, because there was no problem with the actual characters in the story that I had previously, with except from Yasmin, which I think there is a better input on Jasmine. Jasmine? Sorry, I'm going to keep doing that because I know someone called Jasmine. Yasmin. I think there was better input on Yasmin in this one, so it did work in that respect for her. I hope she grows more as a character, because although she has grown in this episode, she still doesn't get a great lot to do. I think she works well in this respect as kind of working well with Ryan in this one, as they're both sort of coloured, and it's kind of... I don't... because Yasmin's in that sort of grey area where she's sort of coloured but kind of not, so she doesn't know what to do. Particularly on the bus, she doesn't know where to sit. She doesn't know she should sit with Ryan. Personally, I would have sat with Ryan if I was in her position, because Ryan was sitting all on his own. I mean, the Doctor's got Graham. Go sit with Ryan, Jasmine, please. You look so lonely at the back. It's like, oh, I don't, it's just so sad. But yeah, it is best historical episode. Probably down to Vinvette Robinson's performance, as well as Rosa Parks, as well as the relatability of it, how ordinary she was, like doing her job as a seamstress and so on. It was also the fantastic way that they didn't sugarcoat it. There was areas of the episode where they did get cool names, such as Negroes, and get pushed and shoved and told to get out of their seats and so on. It's great they didn't sugarcoat it, because they could have ruined the entire episode. I mean, there are episodes like, I can't, because we didn't really have segregation in the UK as far as I'm aware. It wasn't as bad here, but in the US it was quite bad, and we've never really visited 1915s America. That's partially due to the fact that it only took place 8 years before Doctor Who actually began all the way back in 1963. So there has been an episode in the 1950s, and that was The Idiot's Lantern, which is, I mean, it's okay, it's not the best episode in the world, but I love the 50s and 60s as a time period. I love the clothing and so on, and the music. It's just so nice. It's also one of my favourite eras of the show, 1950s through 60s, well, 60s through 70s. There's some of the best Doctor Who stories there. I collected lots of classic Who from the 60s and 70s. I think most people would agree the 80s wasn't the best period in time for Doctor Who. Great history lesson, as I probably mentioned before. My sister, ironically, considering the area we live in, went into this episode not knowing anything about Rosa Parks or Martin Luther King. When we got to the bit where Martin Luther King was, she was like, why is he making a big fuss over Martin Luther King? Have you never heard of Martin Luther King? We were all a bit shocked because it's no secret she's in a school where it's mainly predominantly black students. I think it's probably around 10 white students in her entire school, and she is one of them. So it was surprising that she had been to that school and not known about Rosa Parks or Martin Luther King. But yeah, I was like, oh yeah, Rosa Parks is part of the civil rights movement. I'll leave it to Sunday for you to learn more about her. And it educated her in a great way. She now knows a lot about Rosa Parks. She loved the episode, I'd just like to emphasise. She thought it was one of the best ones. We both watched it 3 times now. So yeah, 3 times of that one. I've watched The Ghost Monument 3 times. The Woman Who Fell to Earth I'm more hesitant to watch more than once because I didn't like it as much. For me, you know my rankings are out of 10. For me, 1 to 3, well, yeah, 1 to 4 is bad. 5 to 7 is like average, and then 8 to 10 is good. And 10 being obviously like A star, 9 would be, it's like the GCSEs if you think about it, the way I'm grading it. I will grade an episode based on a similar system to GCSE. Yeah, the set design as well, the way they kept it so realistic to it, the fact that it went out of South Africa, even though it's set in Alabama. I don't know, it must have been a location relatively near the place they filmed the Ghost Monument, because I don't know why else they would, unless they wanted the weather, but the weather can easily just be easily created in post-op, so I presume, I don't know, Doctor Who has an increased budget this year, so maybe they could. The bus, I was so glad that bus was so, it was the closest you're ever going to get to that bus in the history of any television show. I think it's the most accurate interpretation of that bus, and the scenes on the bus were incredibly emotional, and that final scene, which we'll get to later, is really inspiring actually. It's an incredibly well written episode. I think it benefits from Chris Chibnall taking a sidestep. I know he had some input on this episode because it says written by Mallory Blackman and Chris Chibnall on the Doctor Who website. I can't remember if it does say it in the opening titles, but you know, it works very well. This writing is incredibly good. And the companions all get something to do. Yasmin less so as per usual, but you know, what can you do? You have 3 companions. The most you can do is give one of them a week off or so. But if I was running a show with 3 companions plus the Doctor, I think quite often it would be the Doctor who gets sidelined. But because I would think that'd be interesting watching. I think it's interesting how the companions react to the situations that they're in. Personally, so I would want the companions to take centre stage. I think I did that because I like the Russell T Davies era a lot. The Russell T Davies era was very concentrated on companions, less so on the Doctor. I mean, when was the last time we had a Doctor Light episode, really? I mean, there wasn't really any in series 10 or 9 or 8, really, for that matter. So the Doctor hasn't taken a sidestep in a while, so, you know, maybe we should have some Doctor Light episodes. I mean, we've clearly got a good bunch of companions. Ryan is very good. He's, well as Graham being the nice one-liner character that you always love. And then Yasmin, I think we'll find out more about Yasmin next week. I've just watched the preview clip for next week's episode, where the Doctor, if you don't want to know what the clip is, I would just put you put it on silent until I wave my hand in like this. And then I'll stop talking about the clip. So if you don't want to know what's happening in the clip, then when I'm finished, I'll do the signal. But yeah, in the preview clip, Yasmin is inviting her into tea. I've seen promo images as well, of, you know, promo images of the episode, and Yasmin, I believe Yasmin's mum is in it, and you can see a promo image of her family. And in the preview clip, she's inviting Jodie Whittaker's Doctor Who in for a cup of tea. She looks so sad. Basically, it reminded me of a conversation I had with my friend. He was like really sad. I was like, oh, he came round to my house. He gave me something to give to my friend because he wasn't going to be on school tomorrow. He was kind of sad. He's like, okay, I'll go now. Like, okay, but instead of inviting him for tea, I just shut the door on him. So it reminded me of that, except I didn't invite him in for tea. So I think we will learn more about Yasmin's character next week. But she does get a lot more to do in this episode. I should probably do the signal now because I've stopped talking about the preview clip. But yeah, the Yasmin, we'll probably find out more about her next week. She does get things to do in this episode, and it's better than ever before with Yasmin. She obviously gets to look after Rosa Parks, although that does feel like a very Nyssa job. Again with Nyssa, she's probably going to be called Nyssa every week except next week. And although there is an episode called Demons of the Punjab, so maybe she'll just, because she's learning about her heritage, I like the fact she's called a Mexican when she's actually of Indian heritage. But yeah, that's very interesting. She does get, obviously as you'd expect, she gets called a Mexican and that's about it. She doesn't really get so badly treated. I don't know if it's just because she's Indian or because she's mixed race. In the preview image, I don't think she is mixed race, so I'd have to Google that. But yeah, I think we will learn more about Yasmin Yasmin in the future, so that'll be exciting, hopefully. We get to learn more about her and her family in next week's episode for sure. Ryan's performance? I mean, he's Ryan. He gets some good scenes. He's like, I can't cope in this place. If Rosa Parks can live in this place for her entire life, I can live in here for a few hours. I think that was a great line. He had a great performance throughout the episode, actually, coping with this world. I think he suffered more than any of the companions except Graham, who I will get to in a minute. He broke my heart. Graham broke my heart. I was gonna think, oh, I'm gonna be able to get through this scene, and then Graham spurts out something like, I don't want to be a part of this, and I cried. But yeah, anyway, we'll get on to Graham later. But now we'll talk about Ryan. He copes. He has all this problem with this whole environment. How much he's desperately trying to hold back, trying to fight back these people, trying to cope. Otherwise, he'll get the entire team in trouble. And talk about his nan. Oh, that made me cry. Again, talking about his nan's death is making me cry more than her actual death. So, you know, it's great. I was so happy that he got that great character development throughout this episode, along with Graham, of course. Once again, they're getting more character development with Graham and Ryan. I hope we get some more for Yasmin, because there is character development galore in this episode. I swear, there was one scene where he came so close to calling Graham Grandad, and it's when he's trying to sabotage, trying to get the bus driver, change something Blake. He's trying to get Blake back on the bus, and they're going fishing. It's like they pull that prank on him. I think he was so close to calling him Grandad. He will call him Grandad before the end of the season, even if it is on Graham's deathbed. He has to call him Grandad. What would make me cry even more? If Graham actually dies of cancer, and he's about to call him Grandad and he dies. That would make me cry so much. Oh my gosh, that would make me cry so much. But yeah, great, some more character development with Graham and Ryan. Graham shines throughout this episode again. He is by far my favourite companion of the lot. He gets some great one-liners, great things to do throughout the episode, talking to the bus driver. Just, you know, so amazing. I love Graham so much. He's such a great companion. I can't believe they haven't had a companion like Graham before. It's just so great. Talks about everything in that line with Bradley Walsh made me cry. Bradley Walsh going into the episode, I thought, oh, he's going to be the next Nyssa. He's going to be sidelined kind of prejudiciously because he's an old man is what I thought. He's not been to Comic-Con. Bradley Walsh is too old to go to Comic-Con. That's why he didn't go. Forgetting that Peter Capaldi went a year before. And I think Peter Capaldi is older than Bradley Walsh. I think. But yeah. Oh, he made me so happy throughout the episode and so sad. Again, I mentioned, he says he doesn't want to be a part of this. He gets out of this seat, and there's this white woman. He takes his seat, and he's the man that causes Rosa Parks to take up his seat. My heart broke. Again, in that final scene, it made me cry. It was so powerful. That song, Rise Up by Andrea Dry. You can Google it. I didn't like it so much on its own, but in the scene, it was just, oh my god, everyone was in tears. It was beautiful. It's by far the best representation of a historical event in ages. I mean, the representation of the Christmas miracle, or which is the Christmas armistice, that was moving as well, and it was kind of overpowered by the whole regeneration thing, which happened just a few minutes later. But this theme makes the entire episode brilliant. It makes it the best historical in the history of Doctor Who, and it's also one of the scenes that make this episode the best episode in 10 years. I am saying 10 years because 10 years from this point, Series 4 has finished. So 10 years from this point, only the specials in Series 5 onwards, because Series 4 is like the best series of all time. 10 years ago, Series 4 was finished, so you can't include Series 4. So it is the best episode in 10 years, in my opinion. Mallory Blackman shines. I was so excited when Mallory Blackman said she was announced to be writing an episode. Everyone was like, I remember this being a YouTuber who was unsure. It's like, she's written books. It's like, she's written children's book. Doctor Who at its heart is a children's show, and she's delivered one of the best episodes ever in Doctor Who. Definitely in my top 10 of New Who episodes. Probably would make my I'll probably make my top list of episodes of Doctor Who full stop. Is fabulous, and for that reason, so overall it was a masterpiece and a best historical ever. The only thing I would complain about is Krasko. He is a bit of a villain that is sidelined. It works better in the story, but if he were to return, I don't think it would work. Lots of people are saying, like, oh, what if Krasko's the one returning? Maybe the Stenza were just put into last episode because it's a filler episode. I would agree. The Ghost Monument does feel a bit like a filler episode. Maybe the Stenza were just put in there to hide the gap before the real villain of Series 11 is introduced, and that's Krasko. I don't think he would work outside this episode. I mean, he works in this episode, but if he were to return, I just don't think it would work. I mean, he's alright in the story, but he just doesn't work on his own. Maybe if he came back in a rebooted Torchwood, though, who knows? I mean, he's very clearly influenced by Captain Jack. I do think he would work in Torchwood, actually. So if Chris Chibnall brings back Torchwood, why not bring back Krasko? But yeah, he's a bit bad. But overall, I have to say Sidney Newman would be proud. His original vision for the show was that it should be teaching people about lessons about history and science and so on, and this episode does that. It teaches you about history. The series is talking to you about science. I mean, that thing about acetylene in the last episode taught you about it's lighter than air, it's highly flammable, although that's not much, it's still something. I feel like I didn't know anything about acetylene, so I learned that, and it's, I mean, if someone asked me, what do you know about acetylene? I can now say it's lighter than air and highly flammable. That's a 2-mark question right there. So yeah, that's great. So in other words, Doctor Who is helping you with your exam. If I was doing my history exam about the Black Civil Rights Movement, this episode would really help me out. I've definitely bobbed this on before that assessment and counted it as revision. Unfortunately, I did that test and I think I probably failed it, despite the fact that I'm doing GCSE history. I think I did. I think I just got an okay score. I don't know why I did GCSE history, to be honest. But yeah, of course it wouldn't be Hoover Espresso if I didn't just take some coffee. I mean, you know. But yeah, Sidney Newman would be proud. I don't know if Sidney Newman was a racist, but I still think he would be proud of this episode and this achievement. I hope this. I think I hope the new series gets better from here. We've had 2 average episodes, and I'm thrilled to say this episode is an A-star. I'm thrilled to say this is above an A-star. This, is, for me, is a 10 out of 10. I know GCSE results don't go up to 10. I know they go up to 9, but on a scale of 1 to 10, it is 10. In my opinion, it is the best episode in 10 years. The best episode, the best historical episode in the best historical episode in the entire 55-year-long history of the show. And one of the most emotional scenes is contained within it. I mean, like, new series, like, that would be all the emotional scenes would happen in the new series, and this would probably be, if it wasn't for Rosa's departure, probably be number 1. I mean, I cried like a kitten. I cried like a kitten when Rose died. I grew up on Rose and 9, and then when I finally got my hands on series 2, I got my hands on series 2 quite recently, before they were all on iPlayer. I haven't had a complete new series DVD collection until last Christmas, when I bought my last Doctor Who DVD, which was Twice Upon a Time. I had them all up to that point, as well as one final disc of series 1, which I got 2 scratched. Basically, I had an entire series 1 box set, and the last disc was missing, so I did rebuy that disc. But before that, I grew up on 9 and Rose, and then when I finally got series 2 last year before Christmas, I got it for something like 27p. But we watched Doomsday and I cried like a kitten. But yeah, if it wasn't for Rosa's departure, this would have the most emotional scene in the entire episode, the most inspiring, the most powerful scene by far. So yes, I'm thrilled to announce this is a 10 out of 10 episode. Low down on the scores so far. Obviously, episode 1 gained 6.5 out of 10. The Ghost Monument gained 7 out of 10. And Rosa included 10 out of 10, which gives, so far, a total score for Series 11 of 17 plus 6.5, which is probably some number that I'm sure you'll work out, because I can't work it out on paper at the moment. Give me a sec. Series 11 has a total of 23.5 out of 10. Out of 100 at the moment. Currently, obviously we're 3 episodes in, so that score is only going to go up. But yeah, hopefully, I'm personally a bit arachnophobia, so arachnophobia. What is wrong with me today? I haven't drunk any coffee recently. Yeah, I'll probably be able to think better after that. But yeah, so far, obviously we've only had 3 episodes, 23.5 out of 100 for Series 11. Next week, arachnophobia galore, as the Doctor faces giant spiders in Sheffield. At least they are giant spiders. I probably should have said that. That was a spoiler, kind of, but, you know, what can I do? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. References. Obviously next week I will be watching Behind the Sofa, because I'm a bit of an arachnophobe, but, you know, what can you do? I have to watch it. But yeah, there will be a review next Tuesday, obviously. As per usual, Doctor Who review next Tuesday. If not, yeah, it would probably be next Tuesday. So yeah, Arachnids in the UK next week at 7, next Sunday at 7 PM in the UK on BBC One. Make sure you tune in for my review on Tuesday, and thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to my YouTube channel. But yeah, thanks for watching. Goodbye.